Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. You are listening to a rebroadcast of a previously recorded show.
All right, Casey, back to Casey as we continue our finishing up, going into the last hour already. I can't believe how quickly it goes. Casey, so who's our next guest?
Our next guest is Ruth Behar.
Hey, Ruth, how are you?
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. Thanks for coming on the show. I know we talked before, and I'm looking forward to talking again. It's like it just seems like yesterday for sure. And are you enjoying the fair?
Very much. I love this fair. It's incredible. It's so dynamic. It's really lovely.
It is. And how many times have you been here?
A couple of times. I probably don't remember how many, but maybe 3 or 4 times as an author, and then just other times as just a spectator, a reader. I love being here for the fair. It's just really a great time. It's so exciting to see the children in particular, how excited they are about the books. So it's really fun.
So tell me basically on the spectator portion of it, why it's so cool as a spectator. I'm just interested in that because of taking a different realm than just being a participant.
Yeah, well, I think first of all, it's outdoors. Half of it is outdoors, and so you've got all the book stands outdoors, and you just get to see all the books and get to see people stopping and looking at a book, choosing to buy a book. That's a lot of fun. And then there's always just an incredible range of people here, of authors and panels, and so you'll have 4 panels that you wish you could go to all of them at the same time, that you could just clone yourself and go to all 4. So it's really great, and it's a very multilingual and multicultural fair. So that, the panels some of them are in Spanish, some of them are in English. Our panel's going to be in Spanglish. We're going to have some Spanish, some English, a mix of both. And then there's also Haitian Creole, there's French. So it's just very multilingual. It feels like the spirit of the city of Miami, and so it's really lovely for that.
Okay, let's talk about your latest book. Tell us about it.
Well, my latest book is Traveling Heavy, a memoir in between journeys, and it's about all the journeys I've taken, both as an immigrant and then as a professional traveler now, as an anthropologist. So the book is divided into the family part at the beginning and kind of being the immigrant child and trying to find my way in the U.S. and ending up initially in the dumb class because I didn't speak English, but then finding this little boy my age, Shotaro Han, who was also in the dumb class because he didn't speak English, and we realized we weren't dumb, we just didn't know English, so we had to teach it to each other. So I'd start there with that kind of feeling of being other, of needing to learn another language, of needing to translate between languages and cultures, and then eventually becoming an anthropologist and kind of doing that as my profession. So that's pretty much the gist of the book, with lots of stories of travels in Spain and Mexico and Cuba and Poland, various places. Yeah.
What made you want to write your memoir? What kind of thought process? Because you've written so many books and different things and had great success as an award-winning writer. What made you say, okay, I have to write my memoir?
Well, I've been kind of writing bits and pieces of my memoir throughout my career because I've always felt that you have to say something about your personal story, even when you're telling someone else's story. They have to know where you're coming from. So I've sort of been writing my memoir in the margins of other things I've been doing, especially ethnography, stories of other people in other places, travel stories. So I've been there in the margins, and then I just decided, well, maybe I should focus a little bit more on myself. It's not completely on me either, because I have a real fear of the pretentiousness of memoir. So it's not all really about me, but it's about different people and their impact on me, different people that I've met through my travels that have changed me or transformed me or taught me something along the way. So it's kind of, that's why I call it a memoir in between journeys, because it's kind of sneaking the memoir in between the travel stories. But I think memoir is a very beautiful genre, and I always tell my students that, it shouldn't be a self-centered, egotistical pursuit, but rather it should be really looking deeply into your own story as a way of also shining a light on other people's stories. So I think that that's the nicest kind of memoir, where you're going deep, but to understand something bigger than yourself.
The traveling part of it, again, you're not a travel writer. You're an anthropologist. The involving of travel writing in general, by writing the memoir, did you kind of seek some advice from other travel writers in a way? Because it's talking about the whole traveling portion of it.
Oh, I do. Yeah, no, I definitely talk to lots of writers who write about travel, and I read people who, don't have an anthropology degree, but they travel all the time and they write about traveling. And then a lot of my friends are also Latinas and Latinos, and so they travel back to the countries that they're from, like Mexico, for example. And so that's very, very helpful, because I'm always thinking about how to translate these experiences, how to write in English, but yet get the feeling, the tone, the gist of another language, in particular for me, Spanish. So I do learn a lot from the travel writers, and I try to bring their sensibility to the way I pursue anthropology, because I'm very interested in making anthropology accessible to as many people as possible. And sometimes the discipline in its professional and its desire to be professional sometimes can be inaccessible to people and to academics. So that's been kind of one of my missions, has been to make it more accessible and really be able to share with people these different crossroads that you end up on when you're an anthropologist living with people in a different place for an extended period of time.
Ruth, when you talked about specifically a language barrier when you started growing up, especially being in the United States and having another friend, and that because you could not speak that language, how culturally the United States treated you and how you felt as a person. Is it amazing to see your journey, but also to see specifically how you felt at that age?
Yeah, I think it's normal for a kid around that age, 6, 7 years old, where you want to participate and you just immediately feel excluded. And I do have those early memories of, seeing the teacher say something or write something, a math problem, something that I knew how to do, but I didn't know how to say it in English. And I think now what's changed is we have ESL, we have English as a second language. We're much more aware of bilingualism, and we think of that as a good thing. But in that era, in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't. Yet we weren't there yet, as a country, as the United States. I think we weren't there yet. And and I was growing up in New York, which is extremely diverse city. But at the time, there wasn't yet that awareness. There wasn't yet the institutional structures to say, we've got to find a way to bring these kids in and to have them keep this valuable other language, that they have. That's not something to crush so that they can become English speakers. Well, how do we help them keep the old language and learn the new language? And I think now there's so many people who think about education in such amazing, creative ways, and we're thinking so much about these kinds of issues, how to best educate children, how to best educate the next generation. And I think now there's that awareness. And so I think, some in my generation, we suffered a little bit more because there wasn't yet a system, to help us. You basically were just viewed as dumb, as being in the remedial class. We would say in Spanish, you were in la clase de los bobos. You were one of the bobos. You weren't smart. And there was this just immediate assumption that you weren't smart because you couldn't speak. But of course, we were smart. We just needed to learn that language. And now we just have many more tools in place, to teach people language. But I found Shotaro, and I just never, ever forgot him. And that was just first, second grade. And I never saw him again, because the interesting thing about the story is that after we both got smart enough to be in the smart class, after we learned enough English to move to a regular class, it turned out that Shotaro and his family decided to go back to Japan. And so they went back to Japan, and then I became aware that we were never going to go back to Cuba, that we were in the United States to stay, that he had a country to go back to, but I in many ways did not. So that was a realization back then.
All right. Well, I would have so many questions if I had more time with you, Ruth. But again, I mean, I'm just fascinated by the story in general of the traveling, but also your cultural background and being Jewish and Cuban and the variety of different types of things that you've dealt with in your life. And it's a very, very interesting story. And then the whole idea of traveling and how cultures are different and different things and the struggles you've gone through, all of those things. Where's the best place we can purchase your book and learn more about you, Ruth?
Thank you so much. Well, it's been great to talk to you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Where can we purchase the book and stuff, Ruth?
Amazon would have it, and bookstores would have it, and there's now an audio version too that's really beautiful.
Awesome, and I appreciate it. And any places people can Google you, find out more information, and best of luck with the book and your next ventures. Okay.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
All right, back to Casey.
Thank you for listening to Life Improvement Radio. The views expressed by show hosts or their guests are their own and shall not be construed in any way as advice from Life Improvement Radio. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our website. Personal perspectives expressed by the producers, writers, or editors will always be presented as such. Any rebroadcast or retransmission without the expressed written consent of Life Improvement Radio is strictly prohibited. Thanks for listening.